Now we have coronavirus, COVID virus, but what if Wu Yun Liu Qi chapters in Suwan, whether the chapters discuss about this kind of contagious disease outbreaks, is it predictable? It is treatable. And also, what about 2020's weather change and the contagious disease outbreak? Even last year, 2019, it was really dropped. All the farmers, they struggle a lot because of the short of water. And then there's too much wind and the dryness. We had to suffer from the bushfire a lot. Are they all predictable? So why 5 heavenly faces and the 6 environmental chi is really important. There are several chapters that discuss why practitioners should know Wu Yun Liu Qi theory in order to practice. So Suwen chapter 5, it discusses about the importance of the Wu Yun Liu Qi. So Huang Di said, Yin Yang is the law of heaven and earth, the rule of all things, the mother and the father of all changes, the root of life and the death, the place of spirit. Thus, the treating disease must focus on the root of yin and yang. Lingshu chapter 7 also discusses about the Wu Yun Liu Qi theory. Thus, one who used the needles without knowing the correlation to the year's climate, or if the qi is abundant or sparse, hollow or solid, or the causes, cannot be a physician. So Suwen chapter 9 also talked about the energetic cycles of the universe. That is actually Wu Yun Liu Qi theory. So through careful observation of the time of the season and the arrival of appropriate weather and the cyclic patterns, we can understand and apply the knowledge of the transformation of the 5 elements. Thus, a doctor who does not understand or misinterprets the peaks and the valleys of the cycle of nature will not understand the mechanism by which people get sick. So the older contents here we go through, it actually emphasizes all the knowledge of Wu Yun Liu Qi has to be observed and should be understood in order to treat conditions. Huang Di asked, in the circuit through the season, do normal changes in the transformation ever not follow their proper order? And Chibo answered, in nature, the cycle flowed through of seasons cannot afford to become disordered, because without order, injury and even death can occur. So this conversation between Huang Di and Chibo, it indicates, although there is a difference in the changes in the climate and disease outbreak, always the 60 years of cycles in order, they're never out of order. So Huang Di asked, how then does it become abnormal, and how does this manifest? Chibo replied, this abnormality of the circuit can cause illness in people, and when abnormal weather patterns occur in nature and are not invasive, the problem is light. When they are invasive or attaching, the illness can become quite severe. So in 2019, coronavirus outbreak started from at the end of last year. Then must means the abnormal weather changes in the last year must be very severe. So we're going to discuss after several weeks how coronavirus also started. So we will have a time to translate the Wu Yun Liu Qi translations. So Suwen chapter 68, it discusses about Wu Yun Liu Qi. So Huang Di asks, why is it that sometimes the seasonal atmospheric influence appears with the start of each season, and other times appear either too soon or too late? The Chiba replied, it is depending on the excess or deficient nature of the primary ruling atmospheric influence of that year. Some years the disease are likely to be acute and severe, whereas in abnormal years the disease are likely to be violent or even end in the death. This conversation between Huang Di and Qi actually indicate the excessive years of the Wu Yun Liu Qi and the deficient, inadequate year of the Wu Yun Liu Qi. So yunqi chapters we call the 7 chapters, start from the chapter number 66 to chapter number 74. We called yunqi chapters. Yunqi chapters, as we discussed about these yunqi chapters last week, it is inserted by Wang Bing. And the Wu Yun Liu Qi theory is based on the Tiangan and the Diji. Tiangan we call the 10 heavenly systems, and the Diji is 12 earthly branches.